They're trying out a new slogan. Donald J. Trump is going to kill you. He isn't just killing people overseas. An ICE agent today shot and killed an unarmed 37-year-old woman during an ICE operation in Minneapolis. They're there under the guise of protecting us. And, of course, our president weighed in with compassion. The woman driving the car, this is the woman who was killed, was very disorderly, obstructing and resisting, who then violently, willfully, and viciously ran over the ICE officer who seems to have shot her in self-defense. Now, I saw this video. It didn't look like anybody got run over to me.
I wonder what could be causing this drastic decline in ratings throughout late night television. I wonder what the reason could be as to why millions of Americans have told late night political pundits, well, Uncle KC, don't you mean late night comedians? No, I mean political pundits. I have not seen a comedian in late night television since Jay Leno and Dave Letterman handed the golden goose to this trio of huge embarrassing failures who instantly turned the golden goose into the polished turd. I wonder if 10 years of clips like the clip that you just saw, I wonder if that could be the reason that millions of people have told these late night political pundits to get off my TV. As you just saw, Jim Kimmel is once again lying. Now, in his defense, Jim is simply doing what he is told. He is simply reading the jokes that were written by his executive producer, who also happens to be his wife, Molly McNierney, and who, for obvious reasons, refused to take Jim's last name when they got married. I mean, what woman wants to be associated with a last name that represents failure? Jim is simply reading the propaganda that his wife, or as Jim prefers to call her, my boss, Jim is polishing the turds that his wife creates. Before his monologue every night, Molly puts a few pesos in Jim's back to get him to talk, and Jim simply repeats verbatim exactly what he is told. I'm sure at some point, Jim thought he was receiving spousal support. He was receiving career advice from his lovely wife who only has his best interest in mind. Around 10 years ago, Jim Kimmel was instructed to alienate over half the country. He was diagnosed with a severe case of stage 4 OMB, or bad. Like most patients, Jim Kimmel developed an unhealthy obsession with the toxically masculine orange man. It's an obsession. It is a strategy that is guaranteed to end in huge embarrassing failure. Well, Casey, that's not true. Last year, Jim Kimmel averaged over 2 million viewers. His ratings were up 14% and 4% in the 18 to 49 demo. This man is amazing! Woo! Yes, yes, yes! This is true. This is definitely true. His supporters, also known as friends and family, they will point to these ratings as proof that a patient diagnosed with stage 4 OMB can succeed. A late night host with an unhealthy obsession with another dude, he can alienate over half the country, he can appeal to an audience of lonely male wanker spankers, and he can be the most watched late night show in the country. But there's just one problem, one tiny problem. For starters, even with these incredibly inflated ratings, Jim Kimmel is not the #1 show in late night. But the real problem is these ratings, this so-called success, it ain't real. It's an illusion. It is the last gasp of an industry that is barely clinging to life support. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. We received the biopsy results this morning for our oldest Yorkie, Chewy. It ain't good. The biopsy results confirm that she does indeed have cancer in her mouth. It's right under her tongue. Now, the good news is, if you can call it good news, we were able to catch it very, very early, so we might have some viable options. Cancer hasn't spread to her lymph nodes. Matter of fact, it hasn't spread anywhere. So we might be able to remove it surgically without having to remove her tongue. But I'm trying not to get my hopes up about it. We're waiting for a call from the oncologist to get another consultation set up. They'll explain treatment options or if treatment is even viable. I'm hoping, though, since we were able to catch it so early in its early stages, that they can remove the cancer surgically and just be done with it. They might have to do like a small round of radiation just in case, but since it hasn't spread, further treatment might not be necessary. But in the meantime, please keep praying for Chu. I appreciate all of you guys for asking about her the last week or so. Yesterday morning, annual ratings were released for the last year in late night television. Unsurprisingly, most of these late night dumps are struggling to survive. Greg Gutfeld was once again the king of late night. Greg Gutfeld, who is on cable, he's behind a paywall. He once again dominated the trio of huge embarrassing failures, averaging 3.3 million viewers, up 21% compared to 2024. This is why I keep saying the problem in late night is not the genre, it's not the format, it's not that late night is antiquated or a thing of the past. The problem in late night television is the host of these late night dumps, and I'm mainly talking about Jim Kimmel and Stevie Colbert. Well, what about Seth Meyers? Sean Squires? Who gives a damn about Sean Squires? This dude is so irrelevant, executives at NBC forgot that he was still on the air. Sean Squires, he reminds me of Milton from the movie Office Space. He stopped receiving paychecks years ago, but he still shows up to work thinking he has a job. The host of these late night shows, they are insufferable to the vast majority of the country. They're not relatable. And when you're not relatable to a mainstream audience, you are going to struggle. Like I said, Jim Kimmel's inflated ratings, they are an illusion. Back in September, Jim was given an artificial boost by being temporarily fired. That artificial boost carried him through September and October, which artificially inflated his annual ratings. But once the controversy subsided, once the millions of people that were tuning in out of curiosity realized that Jim Kimmel is still an insufferable dork, they quit watching Captain Doofus, and Jim Kimmel's ratings returned to their usual averages, which means Jim Kimmel returned to losing ABC millions of dollars. Stevie Colbert, who will be fired here in about 4 months. Last year, Stevie averaged 2.5 million viewers. He was only down 1% compared to 2024. Not bad, right? The problem is, with Stevie averaging 2.5 million viewers, he's losing CBS $40 million a year. Stevie needed to see substantial growth in 2025. And even with all the controversy over the summer, with CBS announcing that they were shutting down his late night dump and firing his ass, even with all the controversy, Stephen Colbert still managed to lose viewers. Jimmy Fallon continues to be disastrous for The Tonight Show on NBC. He averaged 1.3 million, down 4%. For the parents of Sean Squires, who are the only ones interested in his lack of progress, Sean averaged 945,000 viewers, down 5% compared to 2024. The bigger problem is The trio of huge embarrassing failures on the broadcast networks, they were down 17% in the 18 to 49 demo. Now, that is the demo advertisers are paying for. That's the demo that generates most of the revenue. This is why CBS is getting out of the business of late night. This is why ABC was only willing to extend Jim Kimmel's contract through May of 2027. These late night dumps, they are losing tens of millions of dollars, and there is no relief in sight. Now, of course, they will continue, the host, they will continue polishing the turd. They will continue to come up with excuses as to why they're not embarrassing failures. We are really popular on YouTube. Have you seen Jim Kimmel's YouTube numbers? Wowzer! We're doing great! While it's true that late night clips perform well on social media, views on YouTube, views on Twitter or TikTok, Instagram, those views are inconsequential. From the perspective of the networks, those views are meaningless. 3 years ago, Jackie Mahomes was pulling millions of views on TikTok. The Dancing Queen was mesmerizing millions of lonely men, seducing them with his feminine dance moves. The networks aren't paying Jim Kimmel and Stephen Colbert to generate millions of views with short clips on YouTube. The networks are paying them $15 million a year to draw an audience on television. They're not paying for 5-minute clips that generate 2 million views on social media. They are paying for an hour of programming that generates 4 million viewers on television, because those 4 million viewers, they are worth significantly more money than the 2 million on YouTube. They will blame Donald Trump for their failure. The most powerful man in the world is taking us off of television. This is a violation of our First Amendment rights to be a dumbass. You could make a strong case. Donald Trump is the only thing keeping this late night turd afloat. Without Donald Trump, they don't have material. Without Donald Trump, they don't have a target. They will blame normal people. They will claim half the country is indoctrinated and refuses to consume their toxic garbage. They will blame everyone but themselves. Greg Gutfeld is proof that late night still works. His format is a bit different, but Gregory is proof that late night comedy can work. 10 years ago, Jay Leno and Dave Letterman handed off a profitable industry. They took what their predecessors gave them, and they made the industry better. They handed the industry to this trio of huge embarrassing failures. All they had to do was maintain it. All they had to do was not turn the money train into the Bruce caboose. And what did this trio of failures do? They destroyed it. And now there's just no chance of survival. By the end of 2027, the only survivor will be Greg Gutfeld. Jim Fallon, his contract with NBC, I think it runs through 2028. Maybe Jim Fallon survives, but CBS and ABC, they are done. They are getting out of the unprofitable business of late night. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.